They say you can't choose your family, but what they don't tell you is that sometimes your family chooses not to choose you either. I learned this lesson at 30 years old, sitting at my mother's mahogany dining table, staring at an empty plate while my sister devoured prime Wagyu beef. The crystal chandelier cast warm light over the opulent dining room in Mother's Charleston mansion, but I felt nothing but cold. Tonight was Jen's 5th wedding anniversary celebration, and the irony wasn't lost on me that I was celebrating the union that had cost me everything. Jen swept in 20 minutes late, her blonde hair perfectly coiffed, followed by David adjusting his expensive watch, a gift from Mother last Christmas. Their children ran ahead to grandmother's waiting arms. Mother's face lit up like she'd been plugged into an electrical socket. "My beautiful grandbabies," Mother exclaimed, showering them with kisses before turning to Jen with the same radiant smile. "Genevieve, you look absolutely stunning." I remained seated at the far end of the table, watching the reunion like a spectator at a play I'd never been cast in. When Mother's eyes briefly met mine, her smile flickered. "Eleanor," she acknowledged with a nod, the way one might greet a mildly unwelcome neighbor. The dinner service began with Mother personally plating each portion of her famous herb-crusted lamb. She served Jen, David, and the children generous portions, while my plate remained conspicuously empty. The aroma filled the room, making my stomach growl audibly. "Mother," I said quietly, "did you forget my portion?" She paused, the silver serving spoon hovering over the lamb. "Oh, Eleanor, I thought you might prefer something lighter. You mentioned you were trying to lose weight." "I had never mentioned any such thing," Jen snickered behind her wineglass. Aunt Susan, who had driven down from Savannah, frowned at the obvious slight. "Charlotte, surely there's enough for everyone?" Mother's smile tightened. "Of course there's enough, Susan, but I only prepared special portions for family." The emphasis on family was like a slap across my face. The room fell silent except for the gentle clink of silver against china as Jen continued eating. Not family. After everything I had sacrificed, I was still not considered family in my own mother's house. My mind drifted back to Dad's sudden death when I was 14. Mother had collapsed completely, both emotionally and financially. While Jen, then 12, was shielded from harsh realities, I was thrust into the role of provider. I remembered those early mornings delivering newspapers before school, rushing to my grocery store job afterward. The money went straight to Mother, who would accept it with a weary nod. Meanwhile, Jen was enrolled in ballet classes, art lessons, and eventually the prestigious Savannah College of Art and Design. "She needs stability," Mother would explain. "She's more sensitive than you are, Eleanor. You're stronger. You can handle more responsibility." Stronger. That word had haunted me for 16 years. It became my prison, the justification for every sacrifice I was expected to make. When Jen wanted to study abroad, I worked double shifts to help cover costs. When she needed a car for college, I postponed my own education. When she married David in an extravagant ceremony, I took out a personal loan to help fund the reception. Each sacrifice had been met with the same response: hollow gratitude from Jen, and expectation from Mother that I would continue to be the dependable one, the strong one, the one who required nothing in return. "I'm family," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mother continued cutting her lamb as if I hadn't spoken. Jen paused mid-chew. "I'm family," I repeated, louder. "I've been family through every crisis, every financial emergency, every time you needed someone to sacrifice their dreams for yours." Jen finally swallowed and dabbed her lips. "Oh, Elle, you're being dramatic again. You always do this when you're jealous." Jealous. The word that had been weaponized against me my entire adult life. But sitting there, watching my sister who hadn't worked a day in her life, whose husband's business ventures were funded by Mother's generosity, I realized I wasn't jealous. I was heartbroken. "Jealous of what, exactly?" I asked, my voice gaining strength. "Jealous of your dependence? Jealous of the fact that you're 32 years old and still need mommy to pay your bills?" The color drained from Jen's face. David shifted uncomfortably. I knew about the mortgage payments Mother had been making on their house for months. I knew about the maxed-out credit cards Mother had quietly paid off. I knew because I was the one Mother called when she needed help organizing her finances. "I know about the $3,000 Mother lent you last month for Madison's orthodontist," I continued, my voice steady and factual. "I know about the vacation to Hilton Head that you couldn't afford. I know about the shopping sprees and private preschool you've never paid a dime toward." The silence was deafening. Even the children stopped chattering. "And through all of this," I continued, my gaze fixed on Mother, "I've been told I'm too strong to need support. Too capable to require encouragement. Too independent to deserve a place at the family table." I gestured to my empty plate. Literally. Mother finally looked up, her expression cold and controlled. "Eleanor, you're making a scene. This is neither the time nor the place." "When is the time, Mother? When is it ever the time to acknowledge that you've spent 16 years treating me like hired help instead of a daughter?" "That's enough," Mother said sharply. "You're being ungrateful and hurtful to your sister on her special day." I stood slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You want to know what's hurtful? What's hurtful is watching your daughter go hungry at your table while you serve others. What's hurtful is being told you're family when it's convenient but excluded when it matters. I reached for my purse, my movements deliberate and calm. What's hurtful is realizing that the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally have been loving you conditionally your entire life. Eleanor, sit down this instant, Mother commanded, but her voice lacked its usual authority. No, I said simply. The word felt foreign on my tongue, powerful and liberating. I won't sit down, I won't be quiet, I won't pretend that this is normal or acceptable anymore. Jen had set down her fork. You're ruining everything. This was supposed to be my night. Your night, I repeated, shaking my head. Jen, every night has been your night for 18 years. Every holiday, every celebration has centered around you. I've been relegated to the background so consistently that I'd almost forgotten I was supposed to be in the picture at all. Aunt Susan cleared her throat. Charlotte, she said firmly, this isn't right. Eleanor has always been devoted to this family. The way you're treating her tonight, it's cruel. Mother's composure cracked at her sister's words. Susan, you don't understand the complexities of our relationship. Eleanor has always been difficult. Difficult how? Aunt Susan pressed. By working multiple jobs as a teenager to help support you after Richard died? By putting her own education on hold to help pay for Genevieve's? She's been the most selfless person in this family, and you've repaid that selflessness by making her feel unwanted. I'm ashamed of you, Charlotte. I think it's time for me to go, I said quietly. Good, Jen snapped. Maybe now we can finish our dinner in peace. Her callousness shouldn't have surprised me, but it still stung. Actually, I think you've misunderstood. I'm not just leaving dinner, General. I'm leaving this. I gestured to encompass the entire toxic family structure. I'm done being the family scapegoat. I'm done being the one who gives everything and receives nothing. I'm done pretending that this is love. David finally spoke up. Eleanor, you're being harsh. Your mother and Jen love you. I actually laughed. David, in 5 years, have you ever seen me treated as an equal? Have you ever seen me included in gift exchanges, family photos, asked for my opinion? Have you ever seen me served an equal portion at any family meal? He opened his mouth, then closed it, unable to think of a single example. Love isn't just a word. I continued. It's actions, it's consideration, it's making sure everyone feels valued. What I've experienced isn't love, it's tolerance, and barely that. As I reached the foyer, I heard Aunt Susan behind me. Eleanor, wait. She hurried after me, her face flushed with emotion. Sweetheart, I am so sorry. I've watched this for years and should have spoken up sooner. You have a place at my table anytime. You're not alone in this. Her kindness nearly brought me to tears. Thank you. That means more than you know. As I drove away that night, I felt a strange mixture of grief and relief. Grief for the family I'd always wanted but would never have, and relief at finally accepting that truth. The days that followed were difficult but clarifying. Mother called twice, both times to inform me that I had embarrassed the family and owed Jen an apology. Jen sent a single text. Thanks for ruining my anniversary dinner. Real mature. But Aunt Susan called daily, just to check in. She invited me to Sunday dinner, where she served a meal with enough for everyone. Other family members began reaching out too, sharing their own stories of feeling marginalized, realizing my confrontation had given them permission to acknowledge what they'd been seeing. 3 weeks later, I found a small apartment in Charleston's historic district. For the first time in my adult life, I furnished a space entirely according to my own tastes. I bought a small dining table, nothing grand, but it seated 4 comfortably. My first dinner party was simple but meaningful. Aunt Susan came, along with 2 cousins and a colleague who'd become a dear friend. We had roast chicken and vegetables, nothing fancy, but prepared with care and served with love. Everyone had enough to eat, and when my cousin asked for the recipe, I felt pure happiness. As we sat around my little table, sharing stories and laughter, I thought about the contrast with that anniversary dinner. Here, I had created the family atmosphere I'd always craved. It wasn't about expensive ingredients, it was about respect, inclusion, and genuine care. This is what family should feel like, Aunt Susan said quietly. She was right. Family wasn't about blood or obligation. It was about choosing to show up for each other, making room at the table, ensuring everyone felt valued. It was about love expressed through actions, not just words. A month later, Jen called, crying. David's latest business venture had failed, and they were facing foreclosure. Mother had given them everything she could spare, and they needed help. I know things have been weird between us, she said desperately, but you're my sister. Family helps family, right? The irony was staggering. After being told I wasn't really family, I was suddenly being called upon to fulfill familial obligations. Jen, I said gently, I can't lend you money, but I can help you in other ways. I can teach you how to create a budget, look for a job, apply for assistance programs. The silence stretched long. So you're just going to let us lose our house? I'm going to let you take responsibility for your financial decisions, just like I've had to since I was 14 years old." She hung up without another word. I felt sad but not guilty, which was progress. 6 months after that pivotal dinner, I enrolled in evening classes to finish my bachelor's degree. It was something I'd always wanted but never felt I could afford. Now, with my priorities reordered, I discovered I had both the resources and energy to invest in my own future. On a warm spring evening, I hosted another dinner party. This time, the table was full of friends from work, classmates, neighbors, and Aunt Susan. As we sat on my small balcony afterward, watching the Charleston Harbor sunset, I felt profound contentment. "You look happy," Aunt Susan observed. "I am," I replied, meaning it completely. "For the first time in my adult life, I'm genuinely happy." "Your mother asks about you sometimes. I think she might be starting to understand what she lost." "I hope so, not for my sake, but for hers. They deserve to experience real love and connection, but they can't do that while stuck in toxic patterns." Later that night, cleaning up dishes and putting away leftovers, I thought about the empty plate that had started this journey. In a way, I was grateful for that moment of stark cruelty. It had forced me to confront truths I'd been avoiding and make changes I'd been too afraid to make. Now, my plates were never empty unless I chose them to be. My table always had room for one more. My home was filled with laughter and warmth and the kind of love that didn't come with conditions. I had learned that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about the choice, to show up, to include, to value, to love without reservation. I had spent 30 years trying to earn that kind of love from people incapable of giving it. Now, I was surrounded by people who offered it freely, and I had learned to offer it freely in return. The empty plate had taught me that I deserved to be fed not just literally, but emotionally, spiritually, completely, and now, finally, I was.